Any other further discussion? If not, may I have a roll call, please, Mrs. Carlson?
Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas? Yes. Mr. Tully?
Yes.
Mayor Chopatine?
Yes. At this time, I'd like to ask Evan Thomas and our administrator, Steve Mountain, for a report on Hurricane Irene.
Where should I go, right here? Yeah.
That's fine.
I gotta sit here so I can go through my notes. I'm gonna make this as brief as possible. It was the busiest week of my life, I'll tell you that. I took this job, I said, I didn't expect this to happen. So, I called a meeting, it's called the LEPC, which is a Local Emergency Planning Committee, which consists of the three fire chiefs, Mendham Township, Ralston, Brookside, the 2 police chiefs, the 2 first aid captains, everybody. We all sat at this table on Thursday. And we knew what was coming, and we planned accordingly. And to make a long story short, everything worked just like clockwork. The only thing I did different than any other town in the state was I did it's called a reverse 911 phone call to every resident, which has never been done before a storm hits. It's usually done after. So I sat at the meeting and I said, the power's going to go out. How are you going to get to the people? We got to let them know now that the firehouse will be open. You know? So, needless to say, we handled 300 to 400 phone calls at the firehouse for the whole week after that call came out, after the reverse 911 came out. So it was nerve-wracking. But there's a lot of people, we met a lot of people that we've never met. And I got, putting the hours together now and the calls that we've had that are just unbelievable. In those 3 days from August 27th, 28th, 29th, we had 79 calls, you know, for pump outs, 50 pump outs, alarms, trees down, wires down. But what we wanted to do was shorten, we didn't want the dispatchers at the county dispatch center to get overwhelmed by all these calls. So the call that went to the residents was, it's a non-emergency call to firehouse. So we handled all the non-emergency calls. The 911 calls went through the regular way. But 40 of them went there and 47 came to us in 3 days. So it was busy. And at about 2 in the morning, the river crested right over here. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. It went up over the bridge to the police station, went around the police station, came this way, went into Dick Mervin's house, went into Mrs. Riscola's house. And we were over here in the firehouse, and we looked out, and I said, we got to get them out of there right away. And Richie was standing there, Steinberg, and I said, Mrs. Riscola, we got out, she came over, and she said, Dick takes sleeping pills. Dick takes sleeping pills. So I said, we got the fire truck, we hit the siren, the horns, and got him out. He woke up. So we ended up with 17 residents. Some asked to come to the firehouse, other ones we had to escort out. And along with the 17 people, we had 7 dogs that we didn't expect. So that was interesting. I called the county at 2 in the morning and got 8 cots. We had about 10 cots over here already. We went up, the DPW guys went down to Mendham Arena at 3 o'clock in the morning, picked up 8 more cots from the Red Cross. We set them up, we had food over here, everything went great. The next day the pumping started, the pump house. And there's 3 or 4 houses here that are totally inundated with water. I'm talking right up to the beams, to the kitchen. You know, they've lost everything. So, for those people, if you see this on TV, please call and get the FEMA, what's it, FEMA.gov, Steve?
It's actually on the Morris County OEM website. If you go to our website, there's information how to get there. I think it's gov.serve, something to that.
Like that, right.
But people should go to our website for that information, and that links you into the FEMA website.
Right, and then Friday I met with Steve constantly. We handled so many calls about power, and that's a whole other story. But we kept the firehouse open, and Robin is here. She has a few words to say also. As soon as I'm done, Robin, I'm almost there. The last thing I wanted to mention was Friday I mentioned to Steve, I go, you know, the schools were out of session, maybe I better call them and see if they have any damage. And sure enough, Chris Harrison called me today, and I spent an hour at the middle school, and they have about over $100,000 worth of damage in the school. The gym floor is just all buckled up and stuff, which is not covered by insurance. So I have a meeting tomorrow morning with FEMA at 9 a.m. And if all goes well between the borough and here, we're going to be right around $500,000 worth of damage and stuff in town that we're going to try to recoup. I'm sure we will. We'll get 75% of it at least. But we got a lot of work ahead of us. But bottom line is volunteer. If you're going to help, we could have used more help the last few days. You know, with ice and stuff, we're giving out ice and everything. And Robin, you want to take over? Tanya was a big help. We kept an eye on the senior citizens, like unbelievable. We were at their houses. I loaned one guy a flashlight. You could tell him what happened.
Yeah.
You know, he ended up breaking his hip 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That was after I gave him the flashlight, you know.
Yeah, but it was luckily that I called the son, and he realized that his parents had no phone, no nothing. So I said, there is nothing in this house. They're completely cut off.
Black.
And the son drove and gave the mom a cell phone. She's never used a cell phone, and lo and behold, 3 or 4 hours later, her husband fell, and the next morning I came to check in on them, and they said, you know what? Well, I learned real quick to learn how to use a cell phone, because at 4:30 in the morning she was calling.
Yeah.
And he's doing actually very well.
That's good.
He's at Holly Manor, but he did have hip surgery.
So there's a lot of people that got hurt, affected.
But very elderly. I mean, 90-something years
Yeah.
old.
It's a lot of elderly people.
Yeah,
we
very
helped out.
elderly.
Go ahead, this is Robin, if anybody doesn't know Robin, our first aid director. Captain. She was a big help.
Oh, you're the director.
Everybody was a big help.
Yeah. First, I'd especially like to thank these two young men, and Mom and Tanya, because we did use that list. Buzzy gave the list to the first aid squad, and we actually did go out on Monday, and subsequently we did welfare checks on people, and your list was extremely helpful. You have no idea. Thank you on behalf of the squad. We appreciate your help. And, you know, this was... a lot of things I noticed, you know, because, you know, like Buzzy said, we all took turns. The squad, the fire department manning the building over there so people could get their ice in their showers. And the one thing I noticed about all the people that we dealt with, they all came in no matter what it was. Some of them had not had power for 5 days, and like one lady said, you know, this is getting old. But they always had, almost all of them that I talked to, they had just the attitude that there's someone else who's worse off. And I've lived here all my life, and I never realized, you know, there's really nice people in this community. You know, there was, you know, during the week after the aftermath, the week after the storm, there was no place that you didn't turn where somebody, there was not, you know, somebody needed help, you know, and you stopped to help someone. And it's just, you know, our volunteers on the squad, they, you know, and the fire department came with us on our first aid calls during the storm, or any calls, you know, we went on a few with them too. And like they always do in bad weather, to make sure that if we need help getting someone out, if a tree goes down, they're right there with us. And we're so lucky in this town that as agencies, you know, we have the mutual respect, and we work with each other, and it's just for the betterment, you know, to help the community, and that's what it's all about. And you know, I would just like to thank everybody that you know, put out the effort for this. So.
I'll end it on that. I'll end it on one note too. Just the last, you know, I gotta get some humor in here. I called Steve, it was last Friday afternoon, about, what time to get out, 5 o'clock, and he said, I think we're almost there, you know. Nobody's been over to have a shower yet in the last, you know, like 2 hours. I think we got everybody's power back on in town. Maybe we can enjoy this weekend. And Saturday morning I came back over to the firehouse, and there it was blinking the phone, and I had it set up in a special box for the hurricane to call this number. And sure enough, there's a message, can we come down and take a shower? And I'm going, oh my God, who doesn't have power? So I call them back, and the lady goes, oh, our power just came back on, I'm okay. I said, well, what's your address? It was Indian Head Road, Morris Township. So why I was doing, they had already been here 3 times for showers. But I did the reverse 911, you know, I do it with a mouse on the computer to encapsulate our town. I nipped over Whitehead Road there and got these people. They've been taking a shower down here.
I'd just like to say they deserve a big round of
Everything
applause and our thanks.
I'd just like to ask a question. I had an idea. I was stranded upstate New York for 2 weeks, so I understand what was going on here. But I know we had a water problem down here, and people were coming to Brookside for water. And I checked, and I understand it's manufactured that you can get a head that you can put on a fire hydrant that will work like a faucet. So if we could get, if something like that was made, we could put one over in Brook Race, we could put one over on my street, we could put them in the areas of the township where there was city water on the hydrants, and people wouldn't have to travel the distance to get water.
That's a good point.
It would make it more available for them. I'm sure the mains would have to be flushed and all that, and we'd have to get approval from the water company. But it was a thought I had when I was driving home. I said, gee, I was spring. Fortunately, I had spring up there, so I had water from the spring. Down here, I haven't had any water.
You had water?
Oh, my house upstate.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay.
But that's why I didn't come home. I couldn't flush a toilet down here. But
No, that's the problem. People had here. There's 800 homes with wells in town.
yeah.
About 500 or 600 were out.
Yeah, well, that's...
They were out for a week, too.
Yeah, well, that's just it. So if we could get water, like, you map out certain areas which are central, and you could send people like to the end of Green Hill
Yeah,
Road,
that's a good point.
or over here on Woodland Road, and it would save them going the distance to get water. Just a thought.
That's a good point. Very good.
Thank you.